guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhoades and I'm here to get you started on Unit 20, the AW pattern. Please take a second to gather your materials. You will need your blue book open to page 125. You will also need some colorful pens, markers, or crayons. Remember, whatever I mark on my board, you should be marking on your page. Please save room for a key as well. If at any point I'm moving too fast, please pause the video and catch up. All right, so last week we started learning about diphthongs. Diphthongs are vowel combinations that actually make two sounds. So we talked about the oi sound, which kind of starts off like a long O and then slides into a long E, oi, and we can make that using OY or OI. Then we talked about the ow diphthong that can be spelled with an OU or an OW. Well, today I have another sound for you, and some people would consider this a diphthong as well, because when you make the ah sound, you can kind of feel in your jaw two different sounds. Whether you call it a diphthong or not doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure you can hear that ah sound in each of our words this week. And we are going to talk about 6 different letter combinations that can make that ah sound. Okay? But first, let's read our list. Please repeat after me. Alter, applause, August, author, dissolve, drawer or drawer, exhaust, faucet, resolve, squad, squander, squash, squat, wallet, walrus. Okay, did you hear that ah sound in each word? Great. Now you'll notice I already went ahead and used a purple line to check off or to mark off our syllable breaks. So you can go ahead and do that as well. And I didn't put my stressed syllables in yet, so I'm going to do that very quickly. Remember, the stressed syllable is the part of the word that we say a little bit louder and stronger. So we have alter, applause, August, author, dissolve, drawer or drawer, exhaust, faucet, resolve, squander, wallet, walrus. Now notice I skipped squad, squash, and squat because those are all one-syllable words. Notice I checked off on some words the first syllable and in some words the second syllable, but I always checked off the stressed syllable. Not the stressed syllable, the ah syllable. It turns out that that ah pattern only shows up in stressed syllables. If it showed up in the unstressed, it would probably sound like right? It would sound like a schwa. So that's interesting to note. We only hear ah in stressed syllables. But let's figure out now what letter combinations we can use to make that ah sound. So our first word uses AL in alter. For some reason, when words start with AL, they're usually going to make the all sound. Think about the word all. All together, already. I had more written here. Although, almost. So when you see AL at the beginning of a word, just know that it's going to say ah. Okay, so that's going to make an ah sound, but we'll hear the L as well. Then we have a very common vowel team, AU. When we see AU in words like applause or August or author, exhaust, and faucet, I think that's it. Whenever we see the A and U together, it's going to make an ah sound. Notice it can appear at the beginning of a word or the middle of a word, never at the end. You're not going to see U, the letter U, at the end of a word. It just doesn't happen in our language. Okay, so I'm going to put the L in there. AL says all, AU says ah. So if you haven't learned that vowel team yet, it's a good one to learn. Okay, we have another vowel team that's very common in shorter words like saw and draw and flaw, but we see it here in the word drawer. Now, if we're talking about somebody who draws pictures and we say, oh, she's such a good artist, she's such a good drawer, that spelling makes sense. But we also use this to talk about those things that we pull out or draw from our dresser drawers. Perhaps at one point it was pronounced drawers, like remember to close your dresser drawers, but now we say drawers, right? So I think it originally comes from draw, which means pull out, but the pronunciation has changed over time. Just like last week, we saw the word lawyer, and it seems like it should be pronounced lawyer. That would make more sense since lawyers practice the law, but over time, the pronunciation has changed. So when you are spelling drawer, think about pulling or drawing out a drawer, but know to pronounce it differently. Okay. Any other AW words? Nope. Not so common in the bigger words, but we see a lot of AW in our one-syllable words. So AW says ah. Okay, now I told you that AL says all. It turns out that OL can say all as well in words like dissolve or resolve or golf, okay, or solve, absolve. There's not a lot, but anything that has that solve chunk in it, solve, dissolve, resolve, absolve, is going to make the all sound. So over here, brown box, we have OL making the all sound. Okay, so AL can say all and OL can say all, but not usually. OL in words like hold or cold make a long O sound. So chalk it up to just another crazy English exception. All right, what else do we have left here? Oh, check this out. Something weird happens when you put an A after SQU. You know that SQU says squa, right? In words like squeeze and squid. But when you put SQU and A together, they make a squaw sound. So we see that in squad and squander, squash, and squat. Why? I don't know. I have no idea. But I know that whenever I see a word that starts with S-Q-U-A, it's going to make the squaw. Hold on. How can I pronounce that? Squaw sound. Does that make sense? All right. Anyway, that's squaw. And then something else weird happens when we put a W before AL. So I told you that AL at the beginning of a word says all, isn't always pronounced that way in the middle of a word. But if you put a W in front of it in words like walk or wall, wallet or walrus, it's going to make that sound. So red box equals wall. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different ways to make the aw sound. Remember, aw is not long or short. Some kids get it confused with short O, but short O says ah. This is aw. Notice the difference. Ah, aw. Okay? So lots of different ways to make that aw sound. I want to talk to you for a second about prefixes because we have some good ones this week. We have re, which means back, right? So if you resolve a problem, you go back and fix it. Okay? You resolve a problem, you go back and fix it. So let's say you buy a car, there's something wrong with it, you go back to the dealership and give them a chance to resolve the problem. They need to go back and fix it. So re means back. X means out. If you exhaust all your supplies, you run out, right? Let's say you go camping and you only bring 2 days of supplies, but you end up being stuck there for a week. You might exhaust or use up or run out of your supplies. If a person is exhausted, they have run out of energy. So to exhaust means to run out of energy or supplies. Okay, X means out, re means back, dis means like can mean apart, right? So if something dissolves, like sugar, if you're making lemonade and you stir in the sugar crystals, they will dissolve, which means they will break apart. Okay, and then today in your book, you're going to learn a new prefix, and that starts on page 128. On 128, you'll learn that the prefix add means towards, right? So if you advance to the next grade level, you're moving towards graduation. If you admit someone into a building, you are letting them go towards the entrance and into the building, okay? So anytime you see a word that starts with AD, it's going to have some loose connection with moving towards, right? But something strange happens when you try to put AD in front of a root or a word that starts with P. Instead of using AD, you use AP. So think about the word approach. When you approach someone, you come near them. When something appears, it comes out and towards you, right? So this is called an assimilated prefix. We started with one prefix and then we changed it a little bit to help it blend in or fit with the root. So we see that prefix right here in the word applause. Applause is clapping, right? And when you clap for a performance, you're sending warmth and congratulations and praise towards them. So when you clap, your energy is moving towards them. Your goodwill is moving towards them. So when you get to page 128, you're going to have to decide whether to add AD or AP to each of these chunks to make a real word. And then you'll use those. This will become your word bank. You'll use those to complete the sentences on the bottom. All right, but let's just remember to finish our key here. So green box represents a prefix. And we have lots of different prefixes to talk about. All right, very quickly before we go, let's make sure we know what all of these words mean. So let's look at the word alter. An alter is a thing. I'm going to call it a holy table. If you go to church, the priest is going to stand, or the minister will stand behind a holy table, right? And maybe that's where they put the bread and wine. That is the altar. If you get married in a church, you will stand in front of the altar to say your vows. So an altar is a holy table. This is also a homophone, because there's this kind of altar, which means change. Like we had to alter our plans because of the rain. So this kind of altar is different from this. We talked about applause. August, the 8th month of the year. Notice it is a proper noun, so we always capitalize it, right? Because it is the name of a specific month. An author is a person who writes a book or an article. We talked about to dissolve means to break apart. Drawer, someone who draws. A drawer, something that opens and closes. We talked about exhaust. If you exhaust something, you exhaust your options, you use them up, you run out. Exhaust is also what we call, excuse my horrible drawing, is what we call the stuff that comes out of the tailpipe of your car, right? If you're driving that way, the exhaust comes out of the back. So that's the word for the smoke. A faucet, that's what you turn on so that you can run water into the sink. So if you need to wash your hands, you're going to put them under the faucet. We talked about resolving something, right? We're going back and fixing it. We're making a resolution. A squad is a group of people, okay? So maybe you have a squad that you play sports with, or maybe you're talking about the police squad, just a group of people working together. To squander means to waste. So if your parents give you $20 and you spend it all on candy and then you have no money left, well, you have just squandered, you have just wasted the money you were given, okay? So when you squander stuff, you waste it. Squash can be a vegetable, right? People like to eat squash in the fall. Yellow squash, pumpkin squash, summer squash, right? There's lots of different types of squash. It can also be a verb though. You can, if you sit on a hat, you're gonna squash it. You're gonna smush it. Squat, this might be something you do in gym class, right? You bend your knees. A wallet is something that holds your money. And a walrus is a marine mammal. It is an animal that lives in the ocean. It's known for its tusks and its whiskers. All right. I think that's all I have for you today. Good luck, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.